A lot of times, what I see within a community is when something occurs, it is immediately attached to the fact that someone is melanated and Black. And it's usually on the side of some level of limitation, defeat, or whichever. Instead of sometimes these equations is that maybe you're not qualified enough, maybe you're not connected enough, maybe you weren't prepared enough. And so that's what I'm speaking to, is that we have to stop victimizing the fact that the melanation that we have is limiting us, because it's really not. A lot of us limit us. And I'll land.
I agree with that. I think it should be based on merit and what we bring to the table. That I do agree with.
Can I ask a quick question, brother True? You brought up community quite a few times, and I've been taking a few notes. What does community look like in 2025 for the Black community?
Right now, it's non-existent. In 2025, if you're going to date it, it's non-existent, because community is a collective of families that are acquiescing and spreading a certain regiment, culture, practice. You tend to be known for something. Engineers, farmers, whichever. Right now, there is no community.
Oh, okay. So if you're saying that there's no community, then why is it that getting on code seems to be a very relevant thing that's constantly brought up?
I think that that's something that is said. Okay, I hear it myself, which is why I be asking, what does that actually look like? The time that I can reference where we were on code is when we used to participate in spiritual practices. At one time, our community was very, very structured in a spiritual capacity. We no longer really do that now. I think at one time that was our code, and that also was our culture. Right now, it just sounds good to say, but I don't really think we're on code, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I was gonna say this real quick. I think maybe perhaps community, or how it's viewed, maybe it's evolving from what the traditional cornerstone of how community was once viewed. Would it be a fair assessment that community has evolved into something completely different than what most people traditionally viewed it as?
I think that's convenient when you're speaking about us, because it's not like that collectively. It just so happens to be our so-called community has evolved in a dismantling of how we carry out our lives as a collective.
No, no, you have a point. That's true. But I sit back outside of myself, and I also wonder, has the sense of community also changed for everybody else, especially for all of us who live here in this country? I think community itself, that word in its root, has evolved. I think for everybody at that point. I don't think it's just limited specifically to Black people in the Black community, but I think overall.
Amir, the problem is that's false. There's several places in this world where there's conflicts that's been going on for hundreds of years that they ain't letting up on. The difference is that our conflict is often overlooked. We still have a conflict with this country. Just because it's not as violent as you see what happens in the Middle East or you see what happens in other countries, doesn't mean that we should be able to, that we shouldn't speak on it.
Then leave. I mean, if the conflict is so bad, then leave. You can go to Liberia. Liberia is the
same thing. That's the thing, though. That same argument can be made about any conflict overseas. Why don't you just leave it?
No.
And they don't. No, no, wait. They don't leave. They fight for whatever they created. They fight for whatever they built. They fight for whatever they feel they are owed. They don't sit there and try to run away. And the thing is that I find it extremely disrespectful when people run from the conflicts in their country and then they run over here and then look at us while we're dealing with the conflicts in our country. Does not speak to, they see us dealing with the conflicts in our country, then say, oh, what is wrong with y'all?
I don't see it as really dealing with it. I see it more like whining, complaining, victimizing. I'm just telling you the truth. I'm saying what I see.
Let me say something real fast. Okay, so slavery, so it's one of two things, because I kind of agree with what you're saying a little bit. So slavery, for one, yes, happened 400 years ago, but Jim Crow happened just a few years ago. So it wasn't just over with slavery. It did continue. It just wasn't called slavery. Okay. So let's just make that very clear. But I get what you're saying. We have to take some responsibility for the way the world looks at us. Okay. Because one, we call ourselves hoes. We act like it. We're on TV. We have our cameras out acting like hoes sometimes. Okay. The things that we say is some hoish stuff that comes out of our mouths at times. When everything that she's saying, how they look at us is because we've done it to ourselves. Listen to our music. That's us talking about us. You understand? That's not another race talking about us. That's us saying it. And then we get mad when they see us that way when we're saying it about us.
How long is it?
Look, I know at the end of the day, it hurts when somebody on the outside tells us about ourselves. We don't want to hear it. You feel like it's a problem, right? I mean, it is what it is. But if that's what it is, it's what they see is what that is. We see it. We talk about it. Let me also say this. We talk about white folks do more to us than anybody. It hurts more if my wife would say something crazy. One of you heifers up here, y'all can say whatever the fuck y'all want. I don't give a shit what you heifers say. But if my wife said something like that, what y'all would say to me, they would hit me in my gut. If my family member would say something crazy to me, that would affect me. Well, that same thing is why if a white person say something crazy about me, I don't care what them white people say. I don't really pay attention to them. But if somebody who look like me is doing me bad, that hurts worse than that white boy saying some crazy or doing some crazy shit to me. Because it's somebody who looks like me who I don't expect to bring harm or hurt to me. I expect you to show me love because we come from the same side of the street. Instead, we hurt ourselves. We do. How is that not considered hate? That's called self-hate. If Vince go out here and does something violent to me, that's self-hate. I look just like you, brother. Why would you treat me like that? I expect them to do it. That's to be expected. But God damn, Danielle, why would you do that to me? We from the same side of the street. But you'll be ready to hurt me. You ready to take me out. You ready to do wrong to me. Vin's ready to do wrong with me. He ready to hurt me. He ready to take me out. That's self-hate to me. And that's a problem. And that's why our community is so trash. So when Aisha talked about we need to be on code, yeah, the 60s was good to us because we had a common enemy. We was on code then. Unfortunately, we don't see that no more. I'll leave it there.